Welcome in, whiskey freaks, to the Blind Tasting Podcast, Splash and Dash Edition. This is where I skip the history lesson and I pretty much get right down to tasting something I think you'll like, and I sure as hell hope I like it too. Today we're stepping into some risky business, folks. And no, it's not because we're lighting cigars in a rickhouse. That would be foolish. And it's not because we're trying to smuggle a bottle of Blanton's through TSA. Although a little birdie told me this is actually possible. But here at Blind Tasting Podcast, we follow rules, kids. So don't even think about that kind of stuff. There'll be no funny business today, guys. Yeah, no. Today's showdown is all about barely legal. And I'm not talking about your internet browsing history either, guys. We're talking about two bourbons that just turned 18. They're legal to vote. They're legal to get drafted. They're legal to gamble in, well, quite a few states now. But more importantly, they're legal enough to absolutely wreck your wallet if you're not paying attention. It's Elijah Craig 18 versus Knob Creek 18 in a side-by-side blind tasting. Same age statements, but two very different vibes, guys. I'll break them down from front to back, and we're going to decide whether either of them is actually worth that triple-digit price tag. Or if you're better off just sticking with any old little book or Maker's Mark store pick. But first, I got to thank you all for tuning in. I mean, I know I say this a lot, but I really mean it from the bottom of my heart, guys. We got folks in 50 states listening now. Germany, the United Kingdom, Japan, Singapore, all across the world. And now, this blew me away. We got listeners in Honduras. I know, right? Look, I don't know how you found me down in Honduras, but I imagine you're sitting on the beach with a cigar in one hand while you're sipping something that I'll basically never be able to afford in the other hand. You got respect, my guy. Whoever you are, thank you. So what I'm trying to say is thanks. Thanks to everybody who's helping me blow this thing up. And if you haven't subscribed, and I always ask you to subscribe on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, all the places, because it boosts the magical internet algorithm. And that helps get more visibility for the podcast. So keep listening, keep sharing it with your buddies, but please don't forget to subscribe all the places. Even if you only listen on Apple or if you only listen on Spotify, if you subscribe to YouTube or vice versa, right, it really does help, and I appreciate it. Okay, so enough ass kissing. Back to the bourbon battle of the century. Okay, maybe battle of the year. I don't know. Maybe battle of the week, right? Anyway, it's going to be a decent fight anyway. So sit back, pour a little something strong, maybe even something questionable like Traveler.
Say what?
Yeah, no, do not pour Traveler. Either way, guys, let's get after it. So before I go any further, let's be clear. And this is something you can always count on here at the Blind Tasting Podcast. I buy my own whiskey because if the distillery sent it to me for free, then I'd probably give them a good or at least a decent review, right? It's human nature. Why would a guy bite the hand that feeds him? Yeah, that's those other guys, not me, guys. So just to be clear, I painfully bought both of these bottles we're about to blind taste today. There'll be more on that in just a few minutes. So let me lay this all out for you. First, I'm going to do a bit of background on each of these legendary Kentucky bourbons, and then I'll blind taste, maybe make some notes, and I'm going to proclaim or maybe give a verdict. We're going to keep it, or we're going to collect it, or we're going to cull it for each of them, and I'm going to crown a champion today. So will it be Elijah Craig 18 from the good folks at Heaven Hill, or Knob Creek 18 from our good friends at Jim Beam? All right, folks, I've got two pours sitting off to the side here. My lovely assistant handled that part for me, and honestly, I have no clue which is which. This is a true blind. And if you're wondering why I call this the Blind Tasting Podcast, well, I'm not spilling that secret today, guys. You're going to have to grab the book and find out for yourself. Yeah, it's a shameless plug for my book, Whiskey Wisdom and Bourbon BS, Barrel Strength, Legends, Lies, and Untold Tales. It's right there on Amazon.com. It's only $10. And believe me, I know you guys are blowing $10 on worse crap. So go ahead, just buy the damn book. Look, I got to pay the bills somehow. This podcast ain't free to produce and host, kids. And if you buy the book, it makes my wife happy. So you know the deal. Okay, let's start with Elijah Craig 18. Let me tell you a little bit about what they've got going on inside the bottle. Okay, let me tell you about the lineup from Elijah Craig first, actually. So, Elijah Craig has a small batch offering, and the age statement, although it was originally a 12-year-old bourbon, it is currently now a blend of 8 to 12 years. It comes in at 94 proof, and it's known for its signature warm spice and subtle smoke flavors, yada, 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 right? We've also got an offering from Elijah Craig at Heaven Hill, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and we've talked about that here on the pod before. And the age varies by batch. It's typically around 12 years old, and the proof point on those are uncut and unfiltered, and it's barrel proof, and that varies by the batch that they put together. It's released 3 times a year, just like they release Larceny Barrel Proof, and I'm not going to get into all that here today. Just wanted to let you know about that. Elijah Craig also offers a toasted barrel offering. The age also varies. It comes in at 94 proof. It's finished in toasted oak barrels. And they also have, in just the last few years, they started putting out an Elijah Craig straight rye. Again, the age varies. That's a theme here. The proof point comes in at 94 proof. And it is a rye whiskey finished in toasted oak barrels. And this is a new one from Elijah Craig. Elijah Craig just put out a barrel proof rye here in September of 2025. It's aged 12 years and 3 months, and it comes in at 108 proof, if I'm not mistaken. And it is their first ever barrel proof rye. So they're trying to stay with the curve here. Elijah Craig is always trying to do something a little bit different. And finally, we come to the Elijah Craig 18-year-old single barrel. And that's what I've got here today. I'm gonna move through this stuff pretty fast today, guys. Honestly, I want to see which one really will win this competition today. And full disclosure, I've had these two before. This isn't my first sip of 18-year-old bourbon, but it's been a while, and I've never blinded them like this. So I'm looking forward to the outcome today. So let's get into it. Now, y'all know I normally like to review the easier to get stuff. And actually, I've made it a point here on the podcast, and I get pretty pissed off when I see folks carrying on about complete and total unicorns on here, that we'll never see or, never be able to afford. But at the same time, I think, well, I love some of the higher price stuff and some of the harder to get stuff too. And I think I'd be in a disservice I think I'd be doing a disservice if I just ignored that stuff entirely. It's not that I don't want to pay for it, although in some cases I don't want to pay for it, and I never will. I'm not going to pay for Millennium, either version. I'm not going to pay for some of the most ridiculous things that you see out there, because I think that's foolishness. And it's not jealousy, it's foolishness. So in this case, direct your attention to Elijah Craig 18. Now, I picked this one up several months ago, actually probably a year ago at this point, for $180. And I know, it's more than I probably should have paid, but sometimes we all do stupid things, right? I'm just taking one for the team here, guys. I don't feel like I got mugged out on the highway or anything, so there's that. Anyway, I asked the shop owner if he had any in the back, because at one point, they post the stuff on Facebook or Instagram, and they say, hey, come on out, we've got this. I didn't get there that day, right? But I was able to go in another day and say, hey, and he was able to hook me up with this beautiful bottle of 18-year-old whiskey. So I couldn't pass it up. And like I said, I try to stay in the lower price points. I try to stay in the stuff that you can get your hands on without bribing. Okay, I didn't bribe him. Without going through a bunch of shenanigans to get it. But anyway, it'd been a long time since I had the chance to get it. And even though it kind of hurt the wallet, I pulled the trigger. So it was something I've had on the radar for a good long time. And I can't stress this point enough. If you want that kind of opportunity, in many cases, you have to develop a relationship with your store owners. It creates a win-win, right? He gets to sell some of that higher priced whiskey that's getting harder and harder to sell right now, actually. And then I got this Elijah Craig kind of bucket list bourbon to add to my collection. So my bottle is from barrel 6484, bottled on August 18th, 2023, meaning nothing to no one. No, it does mean something. These are all single barrels, and I don't know. There are probably tens of thousands of these put out, but that is my barrel number and the bottle date. It's a straight bourbon whiskey from, like I said, our good friends at Heaven Hill. And it comes in at just 90 proof. And that's interesting to me, that Heaven Hill would go to the, I guess you call it the trouble and the time, more importantly, of aging something for 18 long years and then bottling it at just 90 proof. And I wonder if that might come into play as we sip it here in a few minutes. Now, I think part of the reason is due to the angel share, by the time they bottle an 18-year-old whiskey, you can lose 75% of what's in that barrel. So they're left with very little in the bottom. So if they proof it out to 90, that's going to give them more bottles of whiskey to sell. So I kind of get that. And I guess if it meets whatever profile they're looking for, then again, that's a win-win for them and for us. The age of this one is, like I said, obviously it's 18 years old. It's not blended or mixed with anything. This is a bottle of single barrel bourbon whiskey. And that means it will be somewhat different than other single barrels, but it's going to have some of the basic things. The basic characteristics should all be in there. Those things that Heaven Hill wants you to taste. And the mash. The mash bill of Elijah Craig consists of 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malted barley. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the mash bill for all Elijah Craig bourbon offerings. I've got to double check that at some point. I didn't take the time to do it. I believe that is their mash. This one mash bill, and this, of course, being aged super long. And fun fact about this teenage bottle of whiskey. Nowadays, people chase it like it's some sacred relic. But here's the deal, guys. When Heaven Hill dropped this bottle way back in 1994, it was one of the first single barrels on the market. And that was a bold move at the time. 1994, Jesus, that was a long time ago. Bourbon was still trying to kind of crawl out of its bottom shelf era where, I mean, even Four Roses back then was crap. They're not anymore, but back then, so many of the bourbons just went to crap, honestly. So this was they're trying to remake themselves, rebrand, remake, and get everybody excited about bourbon. So instead of blending dozens of barrels into something safe and consistent, what they said at Heaven Hill was, here's one barrel, take it or leave it. And basically that helped spark the single barrel craze that everyone cashes in on today. Now fast forward to today, and now Elijah Craig 18 is treated like bourbon royalty. For a lot of guys, they see a bottle and they're going to grab it because who knows when you're going to spot another. And for me, it was that situation. I fell into that. What can I say? And how much, this is funny, how much did Elijah Craig 18 cost when it first came out? It cost $40. $40. I paid $180. So let's talk about Knob Creek 18 now. We've learned all we can learn in just a matter of a few minutes about Elijah Craig 18. Let's talk about Knob Creek 18. The classification is a straight bourbon whiskey. It comes from Beam Suntory, our good friends at Jim Beam Distillery in Claremont, Kentucky. My bottle was released October. No. Okay, the first Knob Creek 18 was released October of 2022. My bottle comes from 2023, or release number 2. So the reason it was released in 22 was to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Knob Creek line extension that Booker Noe put into place when he ran the place. It was another one of those kind of indelible marks he put on whiskey in the Beam Distillery. Now, I paid $180 at the distillery for this bad boy, and that's just FYI. I think and I checked just a few days ago, it's still $180. So it's another one of those things I love about Jim Beam. They're not trying to screw you. Booker's is still 100. Knob Creek 18 still 180. I mean, the prices have crept up over the last 5 or 6 years. But in the last couple of years, despite the fact that most everybody is just ramming the prices up, Jim Beam has been consistently reasonable, in my opinion. Now, a fun fact about Knob Creek bourbon whiskey is named after, like an actual real-life creek. It's named after Knob Creek. It's a creek near Abraham Lincoln's childhood home in Kentucky. It's Knob Creek Farm in Hodgenville, Kentucky. And it's the boyhood home of Abraham Lincoln. And it's actually just 9 miles from his birthplace. And if you're a history nut like me and you want to make the drive, it's only like 35 miles from Claremont at Jim Beam to the place and like 25 miles from Bardstown. So easy peasy to jump over there, check out Abraham Lincoln's childhood home there in Kentucky if you're visiting any number of the distilleries. So Knob Creek comes in at 100 proof, and that's a little different. We know that Elijah Craig, like I said, the 18-year comes in at 90 proof. Knob Creek 18 is 100 proofer, and you'll know if you look at Knob Creek 9-year and some of the others, they typically start at 100 proof as well. The mash bill is it's 77 corn, 13 rye, 10% malted barley, and it's almost exactly the same as the Heaven Hill mash bill that they use for Elijah Craig. I think that's really another reason why this is going to make for a great head-to-head today. It literally just occurred to me how close these mash bills are. Knob Creek 18 is a small batch bourbon, so unlike Elijah Craig 18, it's a blend of several barrels. Well, how many barrels do they blend, you may ask? And I asked it too. It's a great question. You guys are paying attention out there. So it says small batch on the bottle. But here's the thing. Nobody actually really knows how many barrels go into each batch. At least I wasn't able to find that information. Now, the term gets thrown around a lot in bourbon. It's basically the industry's way of saying, yeah, it's limited, small batch, right? But there's no official rule for it. So that kind of gives distillers some wiggle room in what they mean by small batch. Now, for reference, the best reference I could find, your standard Knob Creek small batch usually blends like 8 to 12 barrels into a batch. But when you're talking limited editions like this 18-year, it could be fewer. I don't know, but I could see them using fewer barrels just to make sure that they hit the mark in their flavor and consistency. So yeah, we don't get exact numbers, but clearly these are carefully picked barrels. Small enough to keep it exclusive, but big enough to make sure it's classic Knob Creek and get these bottles distributed across the country and the world. And here's a little bit of facts to chew on. Knob Creek has been steadily pushing its age statements higher. And for those of you keeping track at home or keeping score at home, it went from its core 9-year age statement for the small batch bourbon. Then they added then it went to a no age statement. Then it went back to 9. They've added a 12-year expression. They added a 15-year. And now the biggest is this Knob Creek 18-year, which is the oldest release from them yet. I hear rumors they're going to release a Knob Creek 21. When I hear more, I'll let you know. So all of them are bottled at Knob Creek's standard 100 proof, and each new age statement adds 3 more years, like I said, the step ladder, up the ladder. And that's because I do math, guys. It would be kind of cool if you had all of them at your house to start at the bottom and do a tasting, and maybe I'll do that one day, but I don't have some of these Knob Creeks, so I can't really speak on that yet. One day I will, but for now, just mentioning if you have them laying around. Okay. Beyond those that I've already mentioned at the Knob Creek, there are a few other Knob Creek offerings to mention, and I'm going to run through them pretty fast because I really just want to get to tasting. Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve, it's a barrel-by-barrel bourbon. It's aged 9 years. It's bottled at 120. They have a Knob Creek Bourbon Rye, or Bourbon Rye, or Burr Rye, or however dumbasses say it. It's bourbon and rye blended together. It's a blend of 30% 9-year bourbon and 70% 7-year rye, and the proof is usually around 113. Knob Creek 7-year-old rye, and that's for you rye lovers out there. It's bottled at 7 years old, and again, it's 100 proof. I already mentioned the 12-year and the 15. And there's a smoked maple-flavored bourbon variant for some reason, I guess maybe making old fashions, mixed drinks, that kind of thing. So the MSRP on this bottle, I think I mentioned this already, is $180 at the Claremont Distillery. Okay, if you do get to the distillery there in Claremont, look, the stuff they've got all the good stuff there, really, usually. But here's the thing. It's expensive. But guess what? You can head upstairs to the bar and you can taste almost all of them. Usually all of them for a small amount. Now, the lower end stuff is less. Obviously, the more unique stuff like Booker's Little Book Lineage, those are going to cost about, I think, $20 for 2 half-ounce pours. And the lower end stuff like Baker's, Basil, that kind of stuff is, I think, around $10 for 2 half-ounce pours. And it was last year, my memory. Anyway, so do yourself a favor. What I'm trying to say is, if you get to Claremont, if you get to Jim Beam, go upstairs, try the whiskey first, rather than getting home with a bottle you paid $200 or $300 for when you could have had something different. And I may have mentioned this before too. I like the Little Book Chapter 7 more than last year's version of Lineage. Call me crazy, right? But it was only $160 for that little book. All right, I mean, it just barely beat out Lineage in my opinion, but I thought it was just an edge better, and that saved me a ton of cash because I did not pick up the Lineage. Anyway, you do you. I'm not your mom. But hey, if you can save a buck, right? All right, enough screwing around with all this book learning and such. Let's taste this Elijah Craig 18 and Knob Creek 18-year-old bourbon whiskey. And like I said, it's a true blind. I have 2 glasses here, 2 Glencairns in front of me, identical, but each sitting on a sticky note. I've got number 1 to my left, number 2 to my right, naturally. And so I'm going to start with glass number 1. And I always kind of analyze how a bourbon looks, the color. It's just what I do. And I saw this recently. I saw this on the socials somewhere, where Booker No was quoted back in the day about looking at bourbon. This is from Booker No. Booker said, "Good bourbon is for drinking, not for looking at." Okay, I have the utmost respect for Booker, but I'm not changing the way I taste whiskey, Booker. Sorry, bro. I'm going to look at it first. We're going to analyze it. We're going to talk about it. Okay. All right, let me nose this thing real quick. Oh, shit. No, I got to talk about the color first. Duh. Okay, you guys know, never judge a whiskey solely on the color. And more importantly, or just as much, only judge it in a glass, not in the bottle. So I've got it lit up down here like a CIA investigation room, okay? So I can really get a gander at this stuff. And like I always say, the color can sometimes, oftentimes, most of the time, give you an idea of the breadth of flavors you're about to put in your mouth. And the color of glass number 1 is like an amber hue. It's like a mahogany wood, if you've seen like one of those roll-top desks, right? It looks great. And I'm going to compare it to glass number 2, just to compare looks. Honestly, it's about the same, actually. Maybe the slightest bit darker, chestnut brown. It's got more of just a little bit of bronzish. Is that a word? Bronzish in color. I mean, both are really rich looking. I mean, it's 18 years old, right? Both very nice on the eyes, but I'm going to give a slight edge. Yeah, I'm going to give a slight edge to glass number 2 at this point. I mean, just the slightest edge. And if you're counting on my eyes, then I don't know what to tell you. Let me nose this bad boy. Number 1, I'm going to nose this one and see what we got. It's peanutty. We know what that means, right? Could one be Knob Creek 18? It's too soon, right? I shouldn't be making a decision off of the color and the first sniff out of the glass, right? But I am getting a peanutty note out of here, and that's a big giveaway for Beam products. Let's see what else we get on the nose for glass 1 here. Okay, I'm getting a strong note of caramel, vanilla, and there's a terrific citrus note in here too, like orangey citrus. And I like I do not like a lemony citrus note. This is an orangey citrus note. And there's something in here I just can't quite identify. Maybe like a nutmeg. Oh, and I always like to mention this too. I am getting a tinge of alcohol, ethanol on the nose as I nose this thing. It's not intolerable and it's not overpowering, but it's there, so I have to mention it to you guys. Okay, there may be just a little tinge of leather here on the nose too. It's pretty nice. I mean, we're not going to go wrong with either of these today, I don't think, guys. I mean, I have tasted these before. I'm not going to lie. I've told you that. I did like them both. Never done a blind though, so I want to find out which is, in my opinion, which is the best. I've never heard anybody go, "Oh, that Elijah Craig 18 is shit," or I can't stand that Knob Creek 18. Tastes like crap. Okay, I don't think anybody says that. So no matter who wins this today, I win, and ultimately, well, we all win. All right, let me get a sip of glass number one now. I've done all the nosing I can stand to do. Wow, lots of citrus and leather. I mean, right off the bat. It's really coating my mouth as well. Great mouthfeel here. Make another sip. Yeah, the age of this stuff is bringing that oakiness you'd expect for sure. It's pleasant. It's not a rough oak. And sometimes you can get that rough oak or overpowering oak note from an older bourbon like this. I'm not getting overpowered by it, but it is definitely there. And if you like oak, right away, this one's for you. Let me get another sip. Yeah, there is a strong brown sugar influence here. And there may be it's got like a strong caramel flavor here as well. It's very nice. Very nice. Now the finish is very dry, and it's got this, and I guess that has to do again with the age, the oakiness, and it's got this kind of zing to it, like a zesty zing. I got that right on the tongue right away when I took my first sip actually, and I wanted to see if that was going to fade. It did not fade. There's some leather in here, and even some tobacco, and even okay. Let me get another sip. This is great. Even a bit of like this dark fruity note here. The oak is strong. I mentioned that, but it's 18 years old, and I'm still getting this gentle, citrusy, orange, zesty note. Like I said too, if you listen to the podcast, you know I love that orange zesty note. It's in here. I like this, but do I like it more than glass number two? Let's find out. I'm going to clear my palate real quick here. Give me just a sec. All right. Okay, ready to rock and roll. Let me nose this one. Glass number two. Again, glass number one on my left, glass number two on my right. I mentioned at the onset that glass number two had just the slightest darker color to it than glass number one. And this is different for sure than glass number one on the nose. It's kind of hitting just a little bit different. I'm getting like this creamy vanilla note mixed with like solid oak, like sweet oak actually. It's a different oak note than in number one. And like this crazy sweet leather smell too. Okay, it's not like walking into like a Harley Davidson or type of leather, like a Harley. You've been to a Harley, like a motorcycle, right? What was the name of that leather store at the mall back in the day? Wilson's Leather. Yeah, Wilson's Leather. It's more like a dark, deep leather note, a smell like that. Think back. I mean, how can you forget? I cannot forget that smell. You swing the door open, you walk into that leather shop. That's what I'm getting here. It's a sweet, subtle leather note. Anyway, getting a dark fruit, like it's definitely like a plum note. And if richer is a descriptor, I'd say this nose is richer than glass one. Both terrific. Don't get me wrong, but either way, that's my take so far. Let me sip this one. Glass number two. Oh, I forgot to mention alcohol on the nose. And the reason I forgot to mention it is because there isn't any alcohol on the nose on glass number two. I got a bit, or as I say, a tinge on the nose with glass number one. But there's absolutely zero alcohol here with glass 2. And I wonder if that isn't also a clue for me. Let me sip glass 2. Wow, that dark fruit, it's right up front, mixed with this nice, gentle, sweet oakiness. I mean, duh, if you spent 18 years stuck in a wooden barrel, you'd probably taste like oak too, right? Let me get another sip here. This is great. Okay, so like a burnt sugar, caramel, and this one fades away, but it's just a little bit slower as it dissipates in your mouth, or as it fades. I guess fades the word, right? As it fades away, it's just a bit slower than glass 1. And I'm not getting as much of a citrusy note here. It's barely noticeable on this one. Now, glass 2, more dark fruit, less citrus. But with some barrel char here on the back end, glass 2 is, let me get another sip. Okay, nice, gentle, bit of leather, very pleasing to the mouth, definitely making the mouth happy. I need one more sip of glass 2, guys. Okay, this one is balanced. It's more balanced to me than glass 1. But I got to check glass 1 one more time. I don't want to, let me get a sip. Let me clean this. I get a drink of water here. I'm gonna sip on glass 1 more time. And what I think 2 things right now, and that's hard to do. I've been told my multitasking skills not the best, but right now I'm thinking 2 things. I think I figured out which one is which. And I think I've also made my verdict today. I'm going to get, like I said, one more sip of glass number 1. Yep. And I'm going to do my reveal, and I'm going to give you my verdict right after the money spot. Are you looking to level up your bar or man cave? Check out Famous Docs on Etsy. They've got incredible photographs and wall art featuring Prohibition, bourbon, whiskey, and the gangster era. Want Al Capone or John Dillinger or Bonnie and Clyde on your walls? They've got you covered. And here's the kicker. Buy 4 or more items at one time and get 20% off your entire order for a limited time. Don't wait. Head over to famousdocs.etsy.com. That's famousdocs.etsy.com. Your walls will thank you. So I really feel like I've got this one figured out, guys. But am I a dumbass or am I a genius? Don't answer that. Listen, I'm an amateur, guys. This is like a side gig to me. So I'm not going to lie. This was really tough. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'm not going to be sad either way, right? If I'm wrong, I got to taste some terrific whiskey today, and I got to share it with you guys. So not going to be upset either way. It's happened before. Now remember, glass number 1, I got that peanutty note, right? Was I right? Yes, sir. Woo! I was right. Knob Creek 18, glass number 1. So naturally, that means glass number 2 must be Elijah Craig, and it is. So here we are. Glass number 1, Knob Creek 18. Glass number 2, Elijah Craig 18. And like I mentioned, guys, this was a tough one. On one hand, I guess if I'd been wrong, it'd have been tougher, but even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, right? So my verdict, you want to know which is going to be the winner. And you probably, well, now that we know which is which, you probably know which one I'm leaning toward. And I paid the same amount for these bad boys, $180 each. And I think that's kind of the rule of thumb anymore. At least it has been. $10 a year for every year, right? So 18 year, $10, $180. That's kind of been that's kind of been the logic in the last few years. So they both come in at $180. They both brought some amazing notes and flavors to the table. I've got to lean ever so slightly, though, to glass number 2, the Elijah Craig 18. I got no alcohol on the nose. The depth of flavors were there. There's just more things going on, I guess. Now, the Knob Creek 18, It brought that citrusy note. It had remember, I had that zesty citrusy note. I love that. I just enjoyed the dark fruit notes and that of Elijah Craig. It was so close. And you know, some people say older is always better. Well, those folks, they are absolutely wrong. I mean, look, these are great. For nearly or close to half the money, you can get something better than these two. I'd say there are probably even a few Booker's offerings out there for $100 that would be better. They would beat these in a blind tasting, in my opinion. And if you want to hear my take on the future of Booker's and what I think about Booker's right now, listen to my last episode on the podcast. I'm going to say it's just a bit controversial. Yeah, controversial is an understatement. So give it a listen, guys, if you want to hear what I think about Booker's. But anyway, any number of Booker's offerings would surpass both of these, in my opinion. And some people even say Knob Creek 15. Knob Creek 15's got some big fans, and it's a lot less than either of these. And this might be crazy too, and we're going to find out in an upcoming episode. Would I.W. Harper 15-year-old be as good or better than either of these 18-year-olds? Well, I don't know, but I do have that bottle here in the house, brand spanking new, and in an upcoming real soon episode, I'm going to review it. I'll probably put it up against these two, at least tangentially. Anyway, so my verdict on both of these are keep it. I think, and you can know how I think you need a bottle of each Knob Creek 18 and Elijah Craig on your shelf. It's one of the older, more gettable set of bottles out there. Like I said, you can go any day to the distillery in Claremont and pick one of these up. And if, like I said, you develop a relationship or you just get lucky at your local liquor store, you can get one there too if you have the money. Just for fun, I went out onto Al Gore's amazing internet and I wanted to see what are other whiskey folks saying about these two bourbon whiskeys. 18 years is a long time to spend in a barrel. So what would others say? Well, one dude says, the most sickeningly sweet wood juice I've ever tasted. Somehow the Knob Creek 15 is actually very good. 3 extra years ruined it. Okay. Another guy says that Knob Creek 18 might suffer from diminishing returns, meaning you get less bang for your buck as the age goes up. Okay, well, I don't have a Knob Creek 15, so I can't reasonably make a determination there, but I'd say I'm not pissed about my Knob Creek 18 like this dude is. And as for Elijah Craig 18, some dude says, Elijah Craig 18-year-old offers an exquisite balance of sweet and spice. Aged bourbon at its best, Elijah Craig 18-year-old presents a symphony of flavors. Okay, so Elijah Craig is great. It's balanced, but a symphony in your mouth? I think we've talked about that symphony in your mouth before, right? For $180? Okay, I've paid less for better. Don't get me wrong, is it delicious? Because I'm going to finish this glass when we get done here. It is. It's got lots and lots of oak. It's got lots of flavors, the dark fruit, all the things. But would I buy it again? Nah. Look, this is what I think. It's my conclusion, if you will. If you want more intensity, more zip, a little more zing, and remember, Knob Creek's got that 10 proof points. I would say Knob Creek 18 is what's going to deliver the flavors for you. If you want more sophistication and a little more harmonious experience, not a symphony, but you get my drift, right? I think Elijah Craig is your jam. And both of these show how time, lots of time, can transform bourbon. But they do it in different ways. Knob Creek kind of amplifies, and Elijah Craig harmonizes. That's pretty profound, right? For me, here today, blind tasting this stuff, Elijah Craig 18 is the winner. And if you're the kind of guy or gal that wants smooth, elegant, more balanced, and approachable, I really believe you'll like it best too. Hey guys, thanks for listening, subscribing, and spreading the blind tasting gospel. Now look, if you haven't subscribed yet on the Apple, the YouTubes, or whatever glowing screen controls your entire life, then you, my friend, are a naughty, naughty whiskey freak, and I need you to fix that. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Because if I drop some hot whiskey news and you're not tuned in, you're going to be sad. And we don't want sadness here. We want flavor. We want facts. We want whiskey freaks. So do the thing. Subscribe and be happy.
Do it!
Well, that's all I got for today, whiskey freaks. Thanks for listening to the Blind Tasting Podcast Splash and Dash Edition. I appreciate all y'all. Cheers.